Hello and thank you for joining us. It's time for This Week in the News, a time we recap major stories that we ran in the week ending. You're with me, Job Frank Chakaza, out of stories. High Court nullifies 2019 parliamentary results in 3 constituencies in the Lower Shire. Magistrates commit to High Court 2 cases involving high-profile people in the former DPP government. Government extends with 2 weeks closure of schools as it monitors COVID-19 trends. And in sports, FAM to spend COVID-19 relief second chunk in line with the priorities of its affiliates. Now the news in detail. The High Court in Blantyre has nullified parliamentary election results for 3 constituencies, namely in Nsanje North, Chikwawa East and in Nsanje Central, on account that the results were fraudulent. Lawyer representing petitioners Wester Kosamu says the court has ordered fresh elections be held within 60 days. MCP candidates Foster Tipiwa of Chikwawa East, Enoch Chizuzu of Nsanje North, and Kafanikale Mandevana of Nsanje Central challenged the May 2019 election results, in which MEC declared DPP's Francis Kasaira, Esther Ncheka Chirenja and UDF's Sam Kumbanywa as winners. The Senior Resident Magistrate Court in Lilongwe has committed to the High Court a case involving Norman Chisale, bodyguard to former President Peter Mutharika, and 2 others. Mr. Chisale, alongside Peter Mukito, Rosa Mbirizi, and businessman Mohamed Shafar Chunara, are being accused of using Mutharika's stipend in the procurement of 800,000 bags of cement duty-free. For details, here's Western Guta.
Paulos Norman Chisale, Peter Mukito, Rosa Mbirizi and Mohamed Shafi Chunara are accused of fraudulently using former President Peter Mutharika's stipend in importation of 800,000 bags of cement. They are being accused of committing the offense between 2018 and 2019. The 4 have been charged with 7 counts which include fraud, money laundering, abuse of office, falsifying documents and smuggling. Director of Public Prosecution Stephen Kayuni asked the court to commit the case to the High Court, which Senior Resident Magistrate Shireen Chirwa granted. Kayuni informed the court that the state will be joined by the Anti-Corruption Bureau, Finance Intelligence Agency and the Malawi Revenue Authority.
Some matters are moved from the lower court to the High Court that they can be tried there. This one, considering the nature of the matter and the complexity of it, it's a matter that is triable in the High Court. Upon completion of the summary procedure trial, the lower court is supposed to prepare that small record and transmit to the High Court. So upon transmission to the High Court, which is in the quickest of time, we should be able to obtain a date for hearing when the High Court has located a judge who can hear the matter.
The High Court will make a determination on when the case will continue. Reporting for Zodiak in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta.
In a related development, Senior Resident Magistrate Shireen Chirwa has committed to the High Court the case in which 2 ex-ministers Charles Nchacha and Simon Vua Kaunda, former Chief Secretary Lloyd Muhara and Principal Secretary Bright Kumwembe. The 4 have been formally charged with 6 counts, which include abuse of office, inducing public officers, misuse of office as ministers, and giving false information. Andrew Viano filed this report.
The accused ex-ministers Charles Nchacha and Simon Vua Kaunda, former Secretary to President in Cabinet Lloyd Muhara and PS Bright Kumwembe, appeared before Magistrate Shireen Chirwa for formal charges Tuesday morning. Before being formally charged, lawyer for Nchacha, Chance Gondwe, opposed the idea of committing the case to the High Court before some legal processes were completed in the lower court. But in her ruling, Chirwa said the case, which is before Principal Resident Viva Nyimba, will continue. She further read out 6 counts that have been leveled against the 4, which include inducing public officers, abuse of office, and giving false information. Counsel Gondo, also representing Lloyd Muhara, says he is ready to defend his clients in the High Court.
We raised a couple of issues. One of the issues was the manner in which the file was transferred from one magistrate to another magistrate. So we wanted the magistrate to clarify on that. And again, we raised issues to do with capacity of the SCP at the moment. The accused person's case has been committed to the High Court for trial, but there are also some other charges against the accused persons which are before another magistrate. We shall be waiting to go before that other magistrate so that directions can also be made as regards those other proceedings that are before another magistrate. What we wanted was the law to be followed. So if the law has been followed, we are satisfied. And if the law has not been followed, we can't say we are satisfied. So we will see how best to handle that aspect.
The four were arrested last year for their role in the alleged dubious acquisition of land by then Deputy Minister of Homeland Security Charles Thompson Mchacha. In the case, the state says then Minister Vua Kaunda in Muhara signed for the acquisition of the piece of land which is situated in Ikanjeza Blanta and belongs to the Department of Forestry.
Schools in the country will remain closed for another 2 weeks as government monitors before government determines new government to extend the 2-week period that schools will remain closed. Health Minister Kumbize Kandodo Chiponda, who is also co-chairperson for Presidential Task Force Committee on COVID-19, said Thursday evening that an assessment on COVID-19 trends after the 2 weeks will determine the possibility of opening the schools. She said the task force has also resolved that learners in boarding schools be released as assessments show they are no longer a threat to their parents and guardians. After a 9-month closure of the Bwaila Fistula camp in Lilongwe to pave way for COVID-19 operations, government has finally let the place go back to Freedom from Fistula Foundation to resume repairing women who had the fistula condition. Confirming this to Zodiak, Executive Director of the Freedom from Fistula, Maggie Moyo, said it is a great relief for women who were left stranded in many parts of the country. Over 100 health rights activists, Mbato Nguluwe, has since cautioned government against making health crisis decisions at the expense of vulnerable groups. Jacqueline Shema with the details.
In April 2020, government decided to close the only fistula camp at Bwaila Maternity Hospital to pave way for a COVID-19 isolation center in the early days of the pandemic in Malawi. The Ministry of Health wrote managers of the center, Freedom from Fistula Foundation, to relocate to Kamu Central Hospital, but the organization refused for reasons that the new place at KCH was not conducive. With government unwilling to change heart, founder of the foundation, Dr. Annie Glog, closed the center on November 30, 2020, leaving over 100 women with fistula in the code. Now, after months of discussions, Maggie Moyo, Executive Director of the foundation, says the foundation and government have signed an MOU to resume operations at Bwaila.
You have now received an MOU confirming that the Fistula Care Center can remain at Bwaila, operated by the Freedom from Fistula Foundation, in fact, for the next 5 years, and we are so grateful.
Director of Reproductive Health in the Ministry of Health, Fane Kajari, has also confirmed news of the MOU.
When the place was temporarily closed, it was because we did not have a place to keep the COVID patients. But otherwise, as of now, you have seen what we have done. We now have that new hospital, so the center at Bwaila is free to be used by the students of Fistula Foundation.
Health rights activist Mpaso Nguluwe is glad the center is back, but regrets the care of over 100 women during the time the center was closed.
In future, the government should be able to make proper decisions, because we shouldn't take certain conditions like they don't cause any harm to people. Even the fistula causes harm.
For 10 years, the Freedom from Fistula Foundation has repaired over 3,000 women, who in turn become ambassadors of other women, especially from rural areas, to also be identified and repaired. This is Jacqueline Shema for Zodiak in Lilongwe.
The Ministry of Health has called on stakeholders to commence preparations for the administration of COVID-19 vaccine through interventions such as sensitization campaigns on the importance of the exercise. Minister of Health Kumbize Kandodo Chiponda says currently government is formulating a budget for logistics in the operation, an area she said shall also need support. She said this on Friday at Bingu National Stadium COVID-19 Field Hospital in Lilongwe when receiving a donation of assorted medical items from Press Trust and Lilongwe Water Board. We have more in this report by Winston Kaimira.
As the country expects to start receiving COVID-19 vaccines next month, government says various stakeholders should be on the ground assisting in preparations. Minister of Health Kumbize Kandodo Chiponda says the country's health facilities need cold rooms for proper storage of the vaccine and intensified sensitization on its benefits in the fight against the COVID-19. Speaking at the Bingu National Stadium COVID-19 Field Hospital in Lilongwe after receiving a donation of assorted items for treatment of patients suffering from COVID-19 from Press Trust and Lilongwe Water Board, Kandodo Chibonda said support is needed from various stakeholders on the administration of the vaccine.
We need to start sensitization and public awareness as well. We need support in terms of logistical issues, because when the vaccines come, they have to be available and accessible in each and every district of Malawi. So you are talking of transport issues as well. But at the same time, we also, there are cold room items. So it means we will need the cold room storage in each and every district hospital.
Chairperson for Press Trust, Audrey Mwala, said the organization has set aside about 200 million kwacha for COVID-19 interventions.
In this particular equipment procurement, we have spent 87 million, but we also are into infrastructure development. So in the health sector, we had to look at the areas, the strategic areas that we could quickly intervene in order to respond to the COVID pandemic. So together with what we have spent, the 87 million, and looking at what we are spending in the other 3 hospitals, it is coming to 200 million.
On his part, Chairperson for Lilongwe Water Board, Engineer George Kajanga, said they have donated oxygen cylinders and provided a water bowser which will address water challenges at the facility. President Lazarus Chakwera announced recently that the country shall receive first consignment of COVID-19 vaccine next month. This is Winston Kaimira for Zodiak in Lilongwe.
The Competition and Fair Trading Commission says Shalina Pharmaceuticals Zambia Limited has voluntarily recalled from the market some batches of Sevit vitamin C drug, which was in Malawian market for failure to meet prescribed quality standards. The recalled Sevit vitamin C was being sold in some pharmacy shops in Lilongwe and is on the list of drugs to help boost the immune system for COVID-19 prevention. The Commission has since advised consumers to return them to pharmacies if they bought for proper disposal. Vanani Nyirenda caught up with the Public Relations Officer for the Commission, Mr. Innocent Helema, to shed more light on the recall of the vitamin C drug from the market.
Okay, so we are aware that Shalina Pharmaceuticals of Zambia has recalled their product, favored vitamin C, batch numbers 03-71572 and 0372251. Apparently, this product does not meet quality standards. What we're saying to the general public, to consumers, is that they should not buy this product with these batch numbers. And what we're saying to traders is to dispose this product off. We are saying this product with these batch numbers, they should dispose it off because it does not meet quality standards.
Maybe can we know maybe if the product is attached with some health hazards?
Well, what we can confidently say is that it does not meet quality standards. There are standards to different products, and in terms of vitamin C, this product does not meet quality standards.
There was heavy security in Area 23 in Lilongwe on Monday, following chaos that erupted after a dead body of a 4-year-old boy was found in a river without private parts. Police had to use tear gas to disperse an angry crowd which was baying for the suspect's blood after the attack. Anafe Mlamba rushed there and filed a report.
Running battles between police and angry mob at Area 23 Township in Lilongwe ran into the night of Monday. Police fired tear gas into people's homes and the mob retaliated with stones. Area 23 Chipigu stores and other shops were torched and looted. The mob was baying for the life of a business lady and her family, accusing them of abducting a 4-year-old Happy Piri and using him for magic. The boy went missing on 26 January this year, and his family convened for prayers. At the prayers, a prophet reportedly claimed that the family's neighbor was responsible. This did not go well with the family as they mobilized a search only to discover that the boy was found in decomposed state along Lingadzi River. National Police spokesperson James Kadadzera says police have arrested 9 suspects in connection to the fracas. He says police are also looking for the prophet for the claims he made that police say fund the protests.
Meanwhile, police in Neno on Monday afternoon fired tear gas to disperse an angry mob which stormed the police station, baying for the blood of a murder suspect. The suspect, a businessman only identified as Yohane, is accused of murdering a motorbike taxi operator who went missing on January 14. Steve Kalungwe has the story.
The fracas, which started the morning after relatives of a man who was allegedly killed by a businessman in the district, invaded the premises of the district police station to demand justice, has now affected business in the district. Services at the district hospital came to a standstill when police fired tear gas close to the COVID-19 isolation center at the health facility. There was panic as patients, guardians, as well as some members of staff were seen taking cover. Tear gas also affected surrounding residential areas. A vehicle belonging to the main suspect in the case, Yohane George, has been torched by the angry mob. It was found hidden along a maize field at Nkukuzarira village. FDH Bank is partially damaged. Meanwhile, police have managed to restore calm at the district headquarters after beefing up security by bringing in some officers from Zalewa. For Zodiak in Neno, this is Steve Kalungwe.
You're watching This Week in the News on Zodiac. We'll be back with more news after this.
Precious things have a secret formula. While John is busy trying to impress, James discovered Tangu's secret. Tangu uses Purity sanitary products from Purity body wash, Purity hands wash, Purity body lotion to Purity dishwash. After a week of using Purity sanitary products, James won the heart of Tangu. Use Purity sanitary products.
Now there's a better, safer, user-friendly and affordable disinfectant you can trust. Introducing Safe Surface Disinfectant from Ethco. This is a liquid-based surface cleaner that can kill 99.9% of germs and viruses, including the coronavirus. Disinfect your offices, shops, education and religious institutions, and your home with Safe Surface Disinfectant. Safe Surface Disinfectant for a cleaner and safer surface in just one go. Ethco. That's the spirit.
Kodi ndinu nomwe somuzitichwa olemegezeka kodi?
Koma machedwa nakatobwera nazo drama zanozi. Mbona kuchedwa?
Kungoti ndinadzera ku Audible. Ndimakasiya mafomu ofotokoza za chuma, mabusiness komanso za ngongole zimene ndili nazo. Anzathu munakaulula kale ngati?
Ayi. Komanso ndinezoulula zimangoona ngati mkungocherana misampha chabe.
Kucherana misampha kotani?
Olemegezeka.
Inu chuma choti mwachipeza mwachilungamo ungachite mantha? Kapena tumwina mufuna mutapeza chuma chanu kudzera munjira zosalongosoka koma pogwiritsa ntchito dindo wanu.
Eso sichoncho.
Mwinatu. Chifukwa ineyo ngati MP. Inunso ngati munthu amene muli ndi udindo kuboma. Tinayenera kuulula chuma chathu, mabusiness athu ku Audible. tisachite kudikira kuti mpaka nati kumbutse yayi komanso anthu amene ine ndimatumikira anene okhala ndi chikhulupiriro mwa ineyo
zoona
yetu mpaka na maina athu mpaka nati chiti discipline
isizabwino
yayi
ndipanga zomwezo komanso ndizawauzakonso anzanga ena
akuluakulu ogwira ntchito zaboma kaya ndife amaudindo ochita kusankhidwa ndi anthu kapena ndife ochita kulembedwa tikuyenera kuulula chuma ngongole komanso mabizinesi omwe tili nawo ku Odipod kuti tipewe kuyimbidwa mlandu kuyimitsidwa kapena kuchosedwa ntchito kumene uthengawo ukukufikani kuchokera ku Office of the Director of Public Officers Declarations Odipod.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Welcome back. Before we continue with the news, let's look at the headlines one more time. High Court nullifies 2019 parliamentary results in 3 constituencies in the Lower Shire. Magistrates commit to High Court 2 cases involving high-profile people in the former DPP government. Government extends with 2 weeks closure of schools as it monitors COVID-19 trends. And in sports, Farm to Spend COVID-19 relief second chunk in line with the priorities of its affiliates. Moving on, the Ministry of Agriculture says about 300,000 farmers are yet to access inputs in the Affordable Input Program that targeted 3.7 million households this farming season. However, Responsible Minister Robin Lowe says this season's implementation of the program, which is set to phase out on 20th February, has given hope, as estimates suggest that the country shall harvest over 4 million tons of maize this year alone. He was speaking at a media briefing in Lilongwe on Thursday.
Addressing the media in Lilongwe, Minister of Agriculture Robin Lowe said the program has so far
my ministry was invoiced to pay suppliers an amount of 108.8 billion for fertilizers and 11.8 billion for seed. And currently, we have paid over 76 billion to both fertilizer and seed suppliers. We are working tirelessly to make sure that we pay all these suppliers who invoiced us as soon as possible.
AIP targeted 3.7 million farming households with 2 bags of fertilizer and seeds. However, the 160 billion Kwacha program faced numerous challenges, including network glitches.
The Ministry of Gender and Social Welfare says it is worried with continued attacks and abductions of persons with albinism in the country, despite government interventions to protect them. Speaking during a press briefing in Lilongwe on Tuesday, Minister responsible Patricia Kaliati said the recent attacks on a 20-year-old Saidi Daironi, a man with albinism in Mangochi, signifies that Malawi is still at war to protect people with albinism. However, she says government will continue to ensure that persons with albinism are safe. And now let's look at sports. The Football Association of Malawi says the second COVID-19 relief chunk from FIFA will be spent in line with the priorities of its affiliates in cushioning challenges faced due to the pandemic. Chiwembe has confirmed receiving $500,000 from the world's governing body, and the association's COVID-19 desk officer, Kwagwanji Zaka, says the expenditure will focus on how the affiliates want to cushion the effects of the pandemic. However, FAM will host a budgetary consultative meeting with the affiliates in Lilongwe this Saturday. Samband has the details in this report.
The Football Association of Malawi has received $500,000, an equivalent of 385 million kwacha from the world's football mother body, FIFA, to help stakeholders in cushioning the challenges faced due to COVID-19. Super League teams should surely breathe a sigh of relief as they claimed the suspension of the top flight league due to government's restriction of public gatherings to 50 people aggravated their financial constraints, and some were on the verge of closing shop for failing to sustain crucial operations, including paying their players. But FAM's COVID-19 desk officer, Zaka, says the grant from FIFA will be channeled towards affiliates' priorities. According to Zaka, who is also Chiwembe's competitions and media manager, Saturday's budget consultative meeting in Lilongwe will focus on how the affiliates will use the funding to revive their programs that were grounded due to the pandemic.
They have to understand why is something being prioritized at the expense of the other, for them now to understand how are you going to spend money, and also give their feedback and the money that we have allocated to each particular expenditure line. And the 500,000 that we have received from FIFA will not require another budget in line. No, it was already allocated to, and it will just a matter of waiting for FIFA for it to give us that money, and it will go straight to the lines in which it was intended to.
Meanwhile, all Super League teams had by the 31st of January to submit financial reports on how they spent the 5 million kwacha, which they each received from FAM at the resumption of football in November last year, and are expected to receive another 5 million kwacha from the recently received grant.
That's about what we had time for in this edition of This Week in the News. Before we go, a recap of the top stories. High Court nullifies election results in 3 constituencies in the Lower Shire. Magistrates commit to High Court 2 cases involving high-profile people in the former DPP government. Government extends with 2 weeks closure of schools as it monitors COVID-19 trends. And in sports, FAM to spend COVID-19 relief second chunk in line with the priorities of its affiliates. Visit our website zodiacmalawi.com for more news. My name is Job Frank Chakaza. Remember to wash hands regularly with soap to contain the spread of COVID-19. Goodbye.